What's going on, guys, and welcome to another video in Wild Kinetics. My name is Elam, and today I'm gonna try and do something that's kind of tricky for me to do, which is swap out the engine on my bike. So the problem is that I've been having is that this is the gas bike that I have, right? The 80cc two-stroke. The problem is that it's kind of hard to see, but there are a lot of spokes missing on this wheel. It wobbles a lot and it's just not stable at all, so it could break on me at any point. And yes, you notice the dangling chain there. I was riding it today and then the chain just broke off, snapped off, because it went into the wheel and all that. So it was all sorts of bad stuff. Engine runs fine, everything else runs fine. It's just the chain setup. It's all down to the chain setup, you know what I mean? So what I did is I bought myself like this cheap Walmart bike right here, that is just like, I think it's a 27-inch. It's hardtail, 18 speed. It's got rim brakes. I prefer rim brakes over disc. It's just a personal preference, just of how it brakes and just the setup here, because there's nothing here so I can actually mount the sprocket on there. So it's going to be a hard operation because I'm going to have to transfer everything. I'm going to try and see if I can transfer the whole system. It might be tough, but it's worth a shot. Let's do it. That wasn't half bad. Now, if you are interested, here's one of the pieces that I 3D printed, and it was impressive. This is PLA right here, normally cracks in the sun and heat, and it was near the engine and it withstood months and months and months of use. So this is impressive. I had this since, man, it's now almost September, so at the time of filming, so this is actually pretty impressive for what it did. Engine has been removed. So now I gotta figure out what to do next. Here are the remains. So right there, the engine. I decided not to disconnect the fuel tank because it would leak everywhere. Managed to make it to where I didn't have to disconnect most of the electronics, but thankfully I took pictures beforehand so that way I could wire up the electronics right. And if I can't get it right, I'll just YouTube the electronics for wiring. So now I'm gonna bring my Walmart bike over and at least install the engine on the Walmart bike, and that way deal with the engine mounting issues I'm gonna have, because this frame was it was bigger than normal, so that's why I 3D printed parts for it, because it wouldn't fit through here and here. But if you look on my Walmart bike, frame is thin enough for it to go through. Probably not all the way, I need longer bolts for that, but I think I could do what I did before. And the frame here, so I probably won't need to 3D print a part or anything like that, as it already would go through like that. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Alright guys, exciting news. I mounted the engine. Let's go. It's on pretty tight, I'd say. So this is the new 3D printed part that I 3D printed for this purpose. So it was originally for the old one, because as you can tell, it's kind of oversized. But it just made it, and it does work. It's on pretty tight, like I said. Look, giving it a good move, and it works. And the thing is, it compresses the plastic a little bit, so it's definitely on there. And I have 2 bolts here, 2 bolts on the other side. Believe me, that's not coming off anytime soon. This thing took it was like 20-30 minutes trying to fiddle with it, trying to put it on. It was a pain in the neck. All right, so arguably the hardest part of the swap is done. So now I just gotta hold all that stuff back together on these handlebars. Don't know if they're gonna work or not, because as you can tell, see, those were much wider. So we'll have to see how that plays out, but I think it'll work. I think it'll work. Let's see what's gonna happen. Now on to arguably the hardest part of this build, which is removing this sprocket from here and attaching it on this wheel. The reason it's going to be hard is because you have to make sure that everything is aligned, that this spins properly with this, that it's not off, or else it'll throw off your entire system. So yeah, that's why some of these weren't even in here, because we just couldn't get them right in place, and that was the problem with it. So let's see what happens. Removing the tire, it's second from the last gear. Let's get it. Alright guys, so it's been a while, but I finally got the chain in, so I'm ready to get back in the game and get started, because all I need to do is just attach the chain on with the chain pulley, and just make sure all this is tied together, and do the electronics, which is the part which I'm going to struggle the most on about. So I'm probably going to call my buddy and see if he can kind of guide me through the phone on how to do that. Alright, let's get it. Alrighty guys, exciting news. Chain is installed on the bike, looking pretty nice. It was kind of hard to get into that sprocket, so I'm a little bit worried about that. So I'm going to try and attach the chain pulley to make it as tight as possible, but I had to use the entire chain, so see, that's already tight already, so I wouldn't need much give on the chain pulley. Alright, so let me install that on real quick and see where we're at. All right guys, I got the chain on there. Let's go. Looking pretty well. It's not that loose, but it's not insanely tight, so this is as loose as it gets, but you want it to be pretty tight so that way it doesn't jam up in here, because that's the biggest problem. It jams up in here, and then what happens, the chain either breaks or it automatically derails and just goes into your wheel. That's what happened to my other bike, RIP. So yeah, but now that I have that in there, I'm gonna call up my buddy real quick and see if he can help me wire up the electronics and then tie everything so it doesn't look like a tangled up mess that much, and especially the fuel tank, gotta do that too. And then I'll see you in a bit. Okay guys, so I jerry-rigged it up. So I just my buddy and I, we weren't able to really figure out the exact wiring, but he said it wouldn't mess up the engine if I wired it wrong. He just said it wouldn't stop, so I mean, that's not terrible, so I think I can live with that. Now let's try and see if I can actually make this start up after the first time in a while. All right. So the chain is clearly not working well, and it's just, I don't know, it's frustrating because I don't understand why it's working like that. And like, because I tightened this really well, and now it's going from super tight to not tight at all, which runs the risk of it getting derailed. Now it's stuck again. It's just, oh man, I don't know what to do at this point. Yeah, the engine mount also seems kind of off too, because the chain kind of jerked it off a little bit. So I'm gonna have to squeeze that a little more now. So yeah, that's gonna be a pain in the neck, but see, I kind of lose that. It's just because I don't have any nuts over there. I don't have any nuts that really fit that right now. So yeah, because you need like kind of a bracket for that and nuts, and I don't have that. So I'm just working with one mount right here, and it's just, see, like there it's tight, but that's because this is getting derailed. So it's frustrating really. So yeah, I'm gonna try and figure this one out. And on top of that, the clutch is supposed to be engaged right now, but it's not. Like, that's weird. So I gotta figure out how to fix that. Alright guys, it's a bit more promising now. It wasn't jamming up that much, but no promises yet. This chain pulley is kind of a bit worn out, so that could be the problem. It's kind of hard to see, but it's a bit wider than it should be compared to the chain. So yeah, I might need to 3D print me a new one. I'm probably gonna have to do that soon. And then yeah, I'll move this back here. And the good thing is this frame here is thinner than back here, and naturally when the chain when the chain's running, it naturally wants to pull down, right? And this is already as far down as it goes, and this gets wider over here, so there's almost no way that this thing can slide forward, because if it'll want to naturally slide forward, it can't, because it's just going to get wider. And I attached it on pretty tight, and I try to make it so where it would be kind of closer to the outer edge. It's kind of hard to see, but it's closer to the outer edge, so that way in the event that it does derail itself, I can just it'll just end up here instead of the wheel, and that's much more manageable to have it land over here. All right, let's see if it'll work this time. Please work. Alright guys, guess what? I finally got the engine to run, bro. Oh man, this is amazing. So what I did is I actually wired it up wrong. I wired it up correctly, so thank goodness for that. I might put a picture of the wiring in this video. I might have to edit that in, but we'll see. But yeah, now it works. So now all I have is the chain problem, which is honestly the biggest problem of them all. Now that we tackled the engine problem, because strapping everything down, piece of cake. And now that the engine works, you know, everything else should be good, but the problem is the chain now, so I'm gonna try and work on that alignment. Woo! Yeah!